right, welcome to a brand new episode of the Middle Aged Metalhead. Today we're going to be talking about five albums that for a lifetime. So we are going to pick our top five albums. If there were only five albums we could listen to for the rest of our lives, what were they? I've got some very special people on the show today. So we've got Peter, who runs the Horns Up podcast based out of Mumbai. Got Achintya, artist extraordinaire from Bangalore. I've got Nishanth, aka Deckard Cain. You've probably seen him doing the 2024 roundup with me. And yeah, we're going to start off. You'll see links to all of the different projects in the description. So go ahead and check out the Horns Up podcast and Achintya's Instagram page and Nishant's reviews from various parts of the internet. So we'll get started straight away. So, guys, welcome.
Hi,
Hey, thanks, man.
thanks for having us.
Okay. So, starting off with Nishant, right? Like five albums that, if you could only listen to five albums for the rest of your life, what were they? Did you put any thought to it, or was it like a completely random five picks?
No, I mean, I did put a lot, I mean, not a lot of thought, but for me, like each of these albums were like you said, like chronologically, I mean, places where I got into metal and like really changed things. So very sketchy sort of albums uh, where I'll be, I don't know, killed in terms of the elite horde. So, should I go with the first one or
No,
just
no, wait, wait.
okay? Okay.
Peter, what about you? How did you pick these albums?
Initially when you said we should pick five albums, I was like, fuck, how am I going to pick five albums, right? But I put a little thought to it and I realized, in as cliche as is possible, look at it as a desert island list, right? Like if I could
Yeah,
only take five albums to a deserted island, and what would I want to listen? And it's going to be not too cliche, or maybe cliche, I don't know, depending on how you look at it. It's a mix of music that I heard when I was like deeply into metal, which was, about 12, 13 years ago, or actually even older, 15 years ago, where I spent all my time just like listening to metal, and a mix of also bands that actually got me slowly into metal, right? So there's a lot of like nostalgic value. I don't even need to like think too much when it comes to some of these albums, right? Because it's so ingrained, and especially since I listen to it a lot on, and I'm going to age myself here, on those ripped, what do you call them? Those burnt CDs,
yeah.
where you did those photocopy cover art and stuff like that. So yeah, you have listened to those so many times. I think I worn out a few of those CDs. So that's how I kind of looked at those albums.
Cool. Achintya?
So my picks, I think I was my thought process was what are the albums I speak the most about to people? That's number one. Number two,
Ah,
also it has to be like sort of archetypal or definitive in some way to metal, and both of them anyway overlap. And third is obviously the personal factor. So how personal is it to me for various reasons? So
yeah.
those are probably the three criteria.
Cool. Yeah, I think it was a bit of all of that for me. Like a lot of nostalgia, but albums mostly that I know inside out, that I've spoken about a lot, and albums that, or at least one album, I guess, that I've been listening to for years and years, but still kind of exploring. So let's see how it goes. Okay, Nishant, your first pick.
Yeah, first to the slaughter. This one, yeah, this is going to be a very strange pick because the albums, the band called Chevelle, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Chevelle new metal. I mean Chevelle. This album called Wonder What's Next. That was probably when I was in seventh standard or eighth standard. So this is like teenage, angst. Really channeled through that time. So I remember this is also 2003 or 2004. I mean, Thrissur is a middle of nowhere place. Now it's like a city, but the smallest city ever in Kerala. Uh, but we had this one music shop which had a bunch of CDs, and that's where I found U2, for instance, when I was in seventh standard. but it was dial-up time, right? I mean, and I could still remember uh, streaming Chevelle on very slow speeds, and the whole ruckus it would make when you try to connect to the internet. So I got my first. I don't have the CD with me because I'm not at home, but the first ever CD I bought was Vitamin R. Um, R seemingly stands for Right Talent and whatever. Uh, and that I got from Kolkata's music uh, music sound. No, there was a famous a showroom. There was a chain of showroom which closed down in 2013. I think it's called Music something. That's where I got my CD from, and after that I was hooked. One of my
Music
friend,
World.
Music World, yeah,
Ah.
Music World, yeah. It was a big showroom that time. And I was traveling into Calcutta in 9th standard or 10th standard. So around 2004. So Wonder What's Next just like stood the test of time for me. It was the heaviest thing I ever heard. This was competing with, uh, bands, all the new metal bands, Godsmack and all that during that time. But in hindsight, I've realized that Chevelle heavily relied on, Helmet, the band Helmet, and even parts of Tool. So, and they still sound, I'm just playing it like a couple of days back, and it still holds good when you listen to their CD. Um, I don't know, maybe that's it. And also because I don't know if everybody remember during that time, we had World Space Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, my God, yeah.
And all the time.
So my dad's a doctor, so of all the freebies you get, one was One Space Radio, and we had a subscription for 3 years. And that time Chevelle used to come along. So there was a song called "Send the Pain Below," which a friend of mine used to play to me, as well as it used to come on World Space, and that like blew my mind then. So still, and I have very fond memories of that time and even the record. So it's all the new metal I've forgotten more or less, but this is stayed there. So yeah. My
Cool.
head still there.
No, I don't think I've ever heard Chevelle,
Yeah,
but
me neither.
I
That's
have.
the first name that comes to mind when new metal.
Huh.
Oh, you haven't? Achintya, you've come
Oh,
across
no.
it. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's like, I know a lot of listeners, not just Godsmack and all that. It's
No, that
that
those
way
are names that
everybody. Yeah.
I'm more than familiar with. New metal is a big thing, obviously. That's kind of how our
Yeah.
generation, particularly 90s kids, got into metal.
Right.
But
Yep.
Chevelle is kind of like I don't know, second tier, I guess, like a second layer
Yeah.
of extra.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Same. Peter. Go ahead.
No. Of course, I think like Chevelle, I was surprised that they're still around, right?
Yeah.
And
I
there's a
actually missed
whole
a show. So there was a show at Albany like last year. It was $90 a ticket, and the next few days afterwards there was Con, and I missed it. And this and Judas Priest, I badly missed it. But yeah, they're still around, and they're like the old school crowd. Are still old school new metal crowd, so are still around. So yeah,
Cool.
I mean, I should.
$90 a ticket is normal or what?
no. So like I don't know who's the other guy who made a. So there's this common sort of platform called, what is it called?
Ticket
Master.
bastard.
Ticket Master. Yes. My God, man,
Sorry.
it's a hellscape. Like it's $90. They overprice it purposefully. Seemingly, there's been allegations like bands themselves buy those tickets and then resell it, so that there's an
Oh,
artificial surge. Yeah, $90, and these are like, and both Judas Priest and Chevelle were doing that in like a huge auditorium. So
But for a
and
Judas Priest gig, it's completely understandable.
yeah,
That's fine.
Priest, yeah.
Yeah.
Priest
Cool.
Most
also
shows are
sold
like
out.
150 to 200 euros, like
Huh.
any American show. So
Mm.
Priest was $90. Yeah. Anyway.
Cool. Yeah, Peter.
Okay, so my pick actually is very different. It comes from a different era, but this was where I was talking about where I spent like a lot of time listening to metal. And this album, I think I know start to finish because I've heard it so much. This album, I'm not very proud of saying, but actually because I lived in Abu Dhabi at that time and I had access to torrents. So it's a band called Between the Buried and Me, and the album is Colors. And I'm guessing you're familiar at least with Between the Buried and Me.
Yeah.
The thing about Colors, what I love is the album start to finish is so seamless. But if you go through it, right, each of the songs, there's so many different kind of moods and things that you go through, right? I feel I've spent so many hours just like only listening to the album start to finish. And there's times where like friends of mine would get together and we'd listen to it. And 18 years later, because this released in 2007, uh, it still stands the test of time, honestly, for me. I mean, like, this is one of those albums, unfortunately, I don't own on CD, still tracking it down. Maybe I'll get the vinyl now that I'm getting into vinyl. But what a beautiful album. There's even like live versions of it. I mean, the fact that it's the same band, because there's so many different aspects that they kind of showcase, right, of the band. And like when you talk about progressive, this album truly is progressive. I don't think there's a better way to kind of define it. If you guys Are you guys familiar with the album, the band?
The band, yes. The album, not so much.
Yeah, I'm quite
Yes.
sorry. Go ahead. What was that?
No, go on, Nishanth.
Yeah. I mean, I am very familiar with them. Like, so this was around the time 2008, 7, 8. I got into the SputnikMusic.com. It's like a website where reviews are there. So Colors was like constantly promoted and by it, and I ended up listening around that time because 2007 was just released, I think. And also like this broke. I remember the conversation then. This literally broke the metalcore kids very heavily because this like blew their minds. And unlike a lot of gent bands today that say prog and then play whatever progression or whatever. This was something new, and I think there was a huge bubble. I'm not sure if Pitchfork pushed it during that time. How the
Yeah,
coverage
for
was.
sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
this was also the time because I got into them in their previous album, Alaska. Uh, and from Alaska to this, it was a huge jump. But like, if you listen to their earlier album, they're pretty much like deathcore-ish, which was the flavor of the week in the mid 2000s, right? So yeah, it's a huge jump for them. And I think like even now, whenever I listen to any new music that they put out, I'm like, is it really going to top Colors, right?
And I think a
Yeah.
lot of bands followed suit also, like, the Contortionist, a bunch of Native Construct or something like that. Many bands that came in that, they did that vocoder cynic thing and then played a lot of metalcore riffs, if I remember it right. Yeah, fascinating.
To be honest, I always kind of dismissed them as metalcore. I think I may have heard one song, so yeah, that's on me. But
I
yeah,
thought that Jane.
Gent, huh? Okay. But I will check it out. Cool. Achintya.
Yeah, so my number five is this. I don't know if you can see it.
No, you'll have to turn off your background, huh?
Okay. Okay, now you can see
Ah,
it.
okay. Yes.
Yeah, Paradise Lost, Lost Paradise. Not a Stone Cold classic, obviously. Very seminal to Death Doom. Even before black metal, doom metal is my sort of my first love in metal.
Yeah.
In terms of like exploring extreme metal specifically. So this particularly I got latched on to after watching Live Death 1989, which is like pre the release of this album, but like it's like a young Paradise Lost. I think they're like 17, 18 at best. And I think Nick Holmes' vocals in this are the best death metal vocals ever. That specific time. Now that's very
Mm.
debatable, but like that specific era is like the sonority, the spacious feeling it has. And the band doesn't like it too much themselves. I mean, I think they've warmed up to it recently, but I think it's like a stroke of genius for people who are so young. I mean, the atmosphere is like foreboding. It's dreary, but it also has that sort of thumos and movement to it, right? It's not like very slow to the point of not being death metal. So I think it's like the perfect balance between death and doom, even more than Autopsy. I know that's a hot take, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and I share my birthday with this album, so there's the personal
Oh,
aspect.
fuck. Okay. This was what, 91?
Yes, Feb 5th, 91.
91. Cool.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
3 years later, but yeah.
It's 90. Yeah,
90, yeah. 90 or 91. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, it's a fantastic debut. I think I think we've spoken about this before because I have this very vivid memory after one of our gigs in the basement on Brigade Road. Achintya and I talking about Lost Paradise. But yeah, fucking fantastic album. And Nick Holmes, though, my God, what a vocalist, man. Seriously. But yeah, I will come back to Nick Holmes later. Nishant, Peter, Paradise Lost fans, yay or nay?
Hardcore. I mean, very heavily. I think one of the things that we all had in common when we were doing a review thing was mutual love for Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Achintya, you and
Yeah.
everybody.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
I don't know whether you guys remember that I did a Tragic Idol Paradise Lost Tragic Idol album review and got shat at all across the internet because I did a neg review. Anyway, but
Really? Negative for
yeah,
that album. Wow, I think it's a
yeah.
masterpiece.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, over the years, it's like scrapped in. Like I said, rated it at 7 out of 10. I remember this, like Sandesh Shenoy uh, put this review out and said, like, this is absolute trash. And they were dissecting my review. But then I reached out to Sandesh, and that's how we became friends. So that's all fine. But I remember this. And I think it was on, remember, Achintya, what is it? Metal Money. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
Oh
it.
Metal
yeah,
Base,
yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
Metal
yeah,
Money.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Metal
yeah. And
Base,
I was, yeah, you say?
Metal Base, right? Since
No,
your
no. I was there
school.
for a brief period on Metal Money
Oh,
too.
gotcha. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, that's when that happened. But I also like if this was a 10, number 10 albums list, I have a softer spot for the Gothic Draconian Times thing. I mean,
Most people do, yeah.
yeah. So
Most
that
people say
is,
they get on to Paradise Lost only from Gothic onwards, but
Hmm.
which is
absolutely.
why I think Lost Paradise people should listen to it more because it is without the whole orchestral and those other embellishments, female vocals and stuff, it has arguably even more sort of doomy and foreboding atmosphere.
Yeah, yeah. At least the atmosphere on that was unmatched. I don't think they ever got that or captured that darkness again after that debut. Yeah.
I mean, it- I'm gonna make a hot take here, but if you think about the Peaceville Doom trios, right, and all the bands, they're still like fucking at it. I mean, I was just reading the whole controversy or whatever you want to call it with Catatonia. Look at all the other bands from that era. Paradise Lost are still fucking at it, and
Yeah, yeah.
they're still fucking nailing that sound.
Mm.
Like of course they've gone through the waves and all of that electronica bit and things like that. I mean, even like look at what's happening with My Dying Bride, right? But
Yeah,
you have to give it to Paradise Lost that they've like stuck to that, and they're still kicking ass.
yeah.
And they've
Seriously.
integrated all elements of their eras,
Yeah.
Mm.
particularly 2010s onwards. So like
Yeah,
there's no disrespect for one era or shame for one era or like specific love for one. They've integrated it like seamlessly. The other bands cannot say the same from that era.
yeah. True.
Yeah, even the Plague with an album, like just like Asantya said, and that's where their old influences all come and like together and becomes very solid. I mean, they've completely reinvented themselves. Really, I mean, compared to even like what Peter was saying, like I was revisiting, bunch of Anathema's also albums, like Serenades, the first few. They're also very depth to me, not in this way, more melodic, but yeah, well, great album.
But somehow for me, Anathema's older stuff, actually, Anathema in general for me has not really held up. Like I find it a bit boring these days.
Yeah,
Early
but
Early.
Catatonia, early My Dying Bride, I still absolutely love. But
Mhm.
Pentecost 3, Eternity, what was the other album?
Serenades, no?
Serenades,
Serenade,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. When I
Okay.
put them on, I find it quite boring. The whole Pink Floyd phase, like when it was fresh, I used to listen to it quite a bit. Now I just can't. I think
Judgment and
the,
all that, right? That stuff.
huh, and
Uh,
Alternative 4, yeah.
yeah, alternative form.
And then, yeah, the alt rock phase also became like a little weak sauce. But,
Weather systems. Yeah.
huh. And what Fine Day to Exit, yeah.
Yeah, find it good. Yeah.
Yeah. They had one acoustic album called Hindsight, which was like a compilation of a lot of their songs done acoustically, I think. That album is beautiful, but the rest of it somehow, I don't know. For me, it hasn't aged very well, yeah. Oh, okay. My turn.
Go for it.
Pretty, pretty standard pick, I guess. Master of Reality. I had to pick a Sabbath, and for me, it was this one. I think when I was like 13 or 14, just getting into rock and metal, there was this compilation cassette called Sizzling Metal. Okay, it was like super weird because it had everything from Hendrix to Nirvana. I think Nirvana's Come As You Are, so it must have been like early 90s. And had to convince my dad to buy it. And yeah, because he grew up with rock as well, he would like check the track listing, check the song names and all before he would buy it for me. And the only reason he bought it for me was because it had a Jimi Hendrix song on it, right? But it also had Sweet Leaf, and that was fucking blew my mind. Yeah. And after that, yeah, Sabbath was all just, one of those bands that has been a constant for me in the last 30 odd years. And Master of Reality, I think, is pretty much my favorite by the band. And I mean, it's like an album that can also serve as a best of, like Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Children of the Grave, Lord of This World, Solitude, Into the Void. Like just one classic after another.
Definitely
And
all killer, no filler for sure.
yeah, seriously. So yeah, Master of Reality is my first pick.
I mean, you can't fuck with Sabbath at least at that time, right?
Yeah,
Uh, and I think like that also. I mean, there's always that debate about the best Sabbath vocalist and which era do you like. But for me, I don't know. I have like a soft spot for Aussie eras, like all of that stuff, right? I mean, even though like I love the Dio stuff with Sabbath, but
yeah,
there's something about just like Aussie, the initial 4, 5 albums, right?
yeah. The first six album run for me is like unmatched. Sabbath, okay, maybe Black Sabbath. They were still like I know it's like iconic and all, but maybe still finding their feet a little bit. But all the way till Sabotage, fucking incredible. And then yeah, the two big albums with Dio, Born Again. I mean, I love all of those albums. Yeah.
I
Cool.
mean, this is also the cornerstone of, all doom. I mean, for me, that is why this album is like particularly very special. I think, what's that song? Lord of this World. I mean, the essential doomy riffs all
Yeah.
come from it. What's that other band that, it's Witch Cult? Uh, that sort of ate Sabbath during the same time?
It's kind of general.
Yeah, which one is it? Yes.
No,
Huh.
but they're after, they're part of the
They,
Nawabum
yeah, yeah.
wave.
They were more
Yeah.
Yeah, they came well
NWO
after.
VHM time.
But yeah.
Huh.
Well, after Sabbath, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Nishant, pick number two.
Yes, let me see. Yeah, this is another album. Uh, nothing so particular cultish about my list. So this is, this may be not an exception or whatever. Like this is Rotten Cries AEALO. 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 How do you pronounce it? I think it's AEALO. AEALO. Whatever. So this are the, I still remember this. Like this came around 2010. I was like more or less familiar with their whole discography till then. Like Theogonia. I still remember when I was walking in the city, like Trishur, this was the track that I used to play. Like Trishur is a city which is got a round. I mean, basically everything revolves around that particular place. When I was in college, I used to walk those particular rounds, and this way this album sort of starts now with the so this they had a two things special about this album because one they had a proper I think a Greek orchestra, not orchestra, I would say a women's group like that starts off AEALO. That because I think the first song has this orchestral group. It's called the Pleiades Orchestra, vocal orchestra, and then you had I think there was Alan Lemtenga featured on this album in Toad. There's a song called Toad Love. I mean, in this, that's how I got into um, what is it? Suddenly I'm forgetting Primordial. That was great. And like it started off like a whole full exploration. Now, obviously, after this, Yata Daimona whatever that album came out, which is also good. After that, they've gone to trash, but at least seeing them in Bangalore in 2014 was
Yeah, very
everything
good.
all coming together. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, even I was at that show, man. That was fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
seeing
mean, everybody was good. Like,
upsetting with
yeah.
destruction. Yeah.
Destruction too. Yeah. But that's the one that Sodom didn't turn up, right? And then Destruction was a replacement. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that was the previous year, 2013. I thought
Ah.
Tranquility
Yeah.
had 2 years later.
Yeah.
Seaside.
Yeah. 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 The sound was then that too. I think remember that they were like very high on treble or something. It was like a little flat, but then I was dead drunk and I was just possessed with this.
It was
Uh,
in counterculture. So I mean, yeah, like
ah.
not the most amazing sound, but like it was nice to see them like right up front and
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and
Yep.
then there was a bunch of press conferences surrounding that whole thing in Vapor in Indranagar. So we met those
Oh.
folks and stuff. So that was pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
both Rotting Christ and Destruction.
Right. I mean, that happened after that, is it? Like, oh, okay.
No, no,
Pre,
before.
pre, pre.
Pre. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ah. Yeah. I mean, terrific album because one of the song Noctis Era is usually the song they end their set list with. And I still remember in the Bangalore gig, like we were all doing Noctis Era, and then there's who ha chant, and everybody was going like in tandem. That was mind-blowingly kick-ass. I still remember that atmosphere. It was like magical. Yeah. Anyway.
And they've also incorporated a lot of like Indian dharmic stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Later on, right? Or was it like the last few albums from them?
last few, yeah, I mean, again, I have to relook at that discography, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's a pity they haven't come back. Surprised they haven't come back because there's clearly that culture.
No, definitely. I mean, I think like Rotting Christ also is the band. Uh, I think I can't remember. I think it was during the pandemic, 2020 or 2021. Uh, Sakis was doing like this solo album also, right? And like as people who've like heard their earlier albums, to me that solo album that he put out and he was putting track by track felt like going back to the early days, if you know what I mean, right? So
Yeah,
definitely a good pick.
absolutely. I mean, in the sense, they had a show, I think, during the pandemic, which only had their own classics, if I'm right. Like, they had a live show. I mean, there's a YouTube stream that went live where they only played their own classics. So that was fun. Yeah. I know. I mean, you probably like the band as well, huh, GK?
Yeah. I like Rotting Christ a lot. Up to, I guess, this was the last album that I fully enjoyed. Was this the album where Diamanda Galus joins them on the last song?
Yeah. Yes.
This is the one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the one. Not the last song.
Yeah.
The last song.
Yes.
She comes in the next album also, I think. Hell, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Ah.
but yeah, this one I remember. Yeah, this was really good. But then I have a soft spot for that entire Greek scene. Like, yeah, almost
Yeah.
all of the bands, Rotting Christ, Septic Flesh,
The earlier ones, like what is that?
Marathon.
Marathon, yeah,
Marathon. And then one
yeah,
more.
Necromantia,
Necromantia.
Necromantia,
Yeah.
yeah,
Really
all of those bands. Fucking killer stuff.
killer stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Peter, choice number 2.
Okay, this band is gonna get a bit of flack for sure, but this album has like a very spot in my heart. This is "Crack the Sky" by Mastodon.
Mastodon.
Now,
Okay.
I realize that again, this is one of the things similar to uh, Colors that I noticed is that this is another album you need to listen start to finish, right? And I feel when you look at again Mastodon's discography, this is like easily one of their peak albums. Very strange enough, when I was thinking about it, while I this is released in 2009, in 2007 I actually saw them live, and that for me was like, oh wow, this is an interesting band. But then after that, when you couple that, they released this album a couple of years later. And again, this is a start to finish album. On the Honza podcast, actually, we do this thing called the All A's album. For me, this was one of those albums that, you know, each and every track is a banger. Like, again, you may call it I don't know, progressive. There's a concept, there's so much happening around, and I think like that's also one of the things about albums that kind of stick in my head, right? There has to be like a concept. It's not just the songs itself. You want to kind of probably own a CD or a vinyl or some concept around it. And when I'm thinking about it, there is some kind of link between most of the albums that I'm picking around. Are either of you guys fans of Mastodon?
Yeah. I mean, I certainly am. But I have a soft spot for the first album. That is a pure sludge classic, and still is. I think if you remember, that was also the time Baroness band called Baroness also
Oh
came
yeah,
out,
yeah, of course.
and their Red album, and along with Mastodon's um, the first album, Remission, was kick-ass. And I still remember how I got to know them. So I'm not sure whether Peter and even GK and maybe Achintya too, like there was this cassette um, compilations called Headbangers Ball,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
on N2. Yeah. And I still remember getting them on cassettes, 2004 or 5. And then there was Mastodon's Marching, what
March
is
of the
it?
Fire Ants.
March of the
Yeah,
Fire
yeah,
Ants,
yeah.
on it. Or Thunder, Royal War and Thunder,
Blood
something
and
like that.
Thunder,
Blood
huh?
and Thunder.
Blood
So
and Thunder. Yeah, yeah.
either of those were there. I think with on both editions or one of the editions. Like that was like, my God, that's heavy. And this was the same compilation that had Disturbed on it. But anyway, but, uh,
I
yeah, I mean,
actually
dude.
have that CD. I managed to find it. If you give me a second, I can actually pull that
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Headbangers Ball CD.
Huh.
Please do. I think there were two of them, like Headbangers Ball 2, and then there's Headbangers Ball Revenge or something. I forget. But I have the cassettes at home. That's a double dual cassette
Mhm.
with stuff on it. One funny instance what happened, like I had this Crack the Sky t-shirt, and I was walking in NYC, like going to the train station. And there was this traffic guy, and he was looking at me and like full tattooed up. And I was like, and he was doing this shake now. And then I was like, have you seen this? My favorite band. And then he proceeded to help me, guide me, like where to go and all that. Like, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we are a glorified t-shirt industry, but still, it helps. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. I remember that. Yeah. And the first part, the first one was actually somebody punching or something.
Yeah,
This was one.
this I actually found, if all places, in the store in Bangkok. Like I used to own this on CD, and then I found this in Heaven and Hell in Bangkok, and I was like, "Fuck, I need to own another copy of it." So yeah, this is good memories, man.
Cool.
I need to get to see, but I don't think it's available anymore. Maybe discounts.
No, but to have a fair bit of love for the first, yeah, up to Crack the Sky. I think Crack the Sky was the last Mastodon album I really enjoyed. Remission and
Emission.
Leviathan a lot, but Blood Mountain's my favorite by them, yeah.
Yeah, same.
And oh, cool. Oh, okay.
Probably
That
up
album I
to
really love.
that era. Beyond that, I know nothing. And frankly, uh, now I'll have to go back and re-listen to even these four albums.
Yeah, same here. I
Yeah.
haven't heard them in a long while. Yeah.
Remission is the, I feel, classic sludge.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
just
That.
talking Baroness Red too. These
Huh.
two came around the same time. And then
Yeah,
two other
yeah.
bands. Yeah.
And it came, I think, when, at least for me, I was like super deep into sludge and stoner at that time.
Like,
And March of the Fire Ants was like a proper stoner classic. It was, yeah, yeah. You light one up and put on those first two Mastodon albums, and it was, yeah,
Yeah.
like non-stop fun.
Crack the Sky. That sort of thing.
Cool.
Okay.
Achintya.
right. So I hope you can see this.
Oh, yeah.
I think anyone who knows me wouldn't be surprised by the fact that this is on the top five. Frankly, I think it's maybe the best piece of music created by humans ever. I know it's very, very high praise. Deathspell Omega, Fast. I'm not going to bother pronouncing the rest. But second, in the trilogy, it's the second album by Deathspell Omega, and probably the most whacked out sounding. I can't believe humans composed this. Like, it feels very 4D, the riffs. Like, I don't know if you've heard this classical composer called Penderecki.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's this, yeah. So it has the same atmosphere as those kind of compositions, but translated into guitar, and
Yeah.
of course their own added weirdness. I mean, it's atmospheric, but it's like highly obviously technical, very very dissonant, um, but with lots of like this. How do you say? It's like bitter melody is injected into it,
Mm.
especially towards the second half of the album. So I mean, I don't know, no amount of words can do justice to this album. DSO is one of a kind. So
Yeah, I would
the
agree. I
album
mean,
cover as well, very evocative.
yeah.
Basically, it's like both Satan being kicked out of heaven, Lucifer,
Uh-huh.
as well as basically what's the tale of Zeus and Icarus. So whereas
Mm.
intestines are picked out by an eagle. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, when I first heard DSO, there was nothing else like it then, and I don't think there still is.
There
Like,
is
sure, maybe imitators who try to base their sound on DSO, but man, this band is quite unique.
I
Yeah,
don't think anyone has achieved the sophistication of Fast.
yeah,
It's
true.
just, and they themselves haven't probably. I mean, even though I love
Hmm.
the late albums, but like Fast is
Yeah,
like, it challenges the listener, and I think it's a very good example of where the artists are giving you something to chew on, not what you want. It's like the absolute extreme, like that individualistic, fierce expression of. I mean, it's everything that black metal should be.
yeah, yes. That's a really good pick.
Yeah, really solid. I think I think when did you first hear it, Achintya? Like I think it was all the reviewing circuit. Paracletus, that was the one I first heard, maybe in 2010. And then went back to Fast. Yeah, I mean, remember that was the time like there's a lot of I don't think these guys gave interviews, right? They were like Blutos Nord, they never gave interviews. Even if they did, it was like very cryptic or something. I mean
Bluetooth,
that
at
that
least we know the singular guy who's there, but
ha ha ha.
ESO at that point, at least it was completely veiled in mystery. Even though I mean we
Yeah.
knew who three core members were and who the sort of rotating member was, but yeah, still a band shrouded in mystery, and that's the whole point, right?
Yeah,
To
thing. Yeah.
disassociate the personality with the art. So they were the
Yeah, yeah,
OGs of
yeah.
that,
Oh,
I think.
geez, yeah. I think Memoria Vetusta Part 2 came around that same time. And then they were like, not clones, I would say, like bands like Swati Dodi. I don't know how to pronounce it. Like, it's the Icelandic
Yeah, yeah,
band.
The
the
Iceland,
Icelandic.
yeah, yeah, Swati
Yeah,
Dowdy, yeah.
yeah. Swati Dodi and a bunch of bands that try, but they never come close. I think, I don't know. What do you prefer, Achintya? Is this Paracletus or this one? This one is
I
your.
prefer this. Yeah,
Hey,
like Paracletos has a lot of like conventional melody for you for an like a
right.
person not used to this kind of dissonance to anchor on. I would say this is on the same challenging level as a Gorguts Obscura or
Yeah.
like it is punishing in the first few lessons. First few lessons I didn't even know what's going on, but like I sort of persevered to understand it, and then like maybe the sixth or seventh listen, I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah, I mean, I have to have the same thing with Ulcerate too. Like, I mean, one of the things what I was going to say is like this had like if you, I think when you look back at it like maybe 10 years 20 years down the line this would be considered as like a moment like not only like when they brought out I think a lot of screamo bands used dissonance heavily like and that is a whole subgenre right now like black and
yeah.
sludgy core which is
I mean,
directly drawing from these bands.
you see that influence in Emin and Paracletus and Drought. There's a lot
It's
of
very
hardcore
sludgy,
punk
right?
riffs.
Yeah, almost,
There's a
yeah.
lot of hardcore punk riffs already injected into that, but
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, brilliant man. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, my next pick is maybe slightly cheating because it's a compilation, but Misfits Collection 1. So, not hugely into punk rock, but absolutely love the Misfits. And this album is just, you know, like we only heard about Misfits because of the Metallica connection, right? And nothing at all was available till a friend went to the UK and came back with the Collection 1 CD. And this was like pre-internet times. And so it was Venom Black Metal, which was again an album that we'd heard a lot about, but I'd never heard. And Misfits, just because of the Metallica connection, he picked up these two CDs. And man, this album is just fantastic. Like it's just one banger after another, and like a punk rock masterpiece for me. Like album wise, I would say maybe Walk Among Us I would prefer, but this just has everything that a Misfits fan would want, I would say, and particularly from the OG lineup with Danzig still playing on it. Yeah. So Misfits Collection One. Any Misfits fans at all?
Yeah, I mean, tangentially maybe, but I love
Absolutely.
Samhain. I think, was
Oh,
there any
okay.
Samhain stuff on this? No.
No. Samuel came later. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And there's no recording of that because I think Samhain, I mean, that work is like Danzig's work mixes both of these, no? In some ways,
Yeah.
Misfits and Samhain mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm slowly getting into. Samhain is brilliant. I mean,
Yeah. Mm.
Misfits slowly, and Danzig I'm familiar, but
Huh.
this Misfits had a more punkish energy, right?
Yeah. It was pretty basic, primitive punk rock. They
Right.
called it horror punk. Most of the songs were like
Not
based
politically
on.
charged or anything. That was more horror, I guess.
Yeah. Most of it was based on 60s sci-fi and horror movies. So you have songs like Teenagers from Mars, you have I Turned Into a Martian, you have Mummy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight, then of course Die Die My Darling. So yeah, it was horror punk, you could say horror punk, yeah. But uh, more to do with Ramones, maybe a little more metalized, a little more hardcore-ish than the Ramones. But yeah, nothing at all like what happened with Samain and where he ended up with his solo stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm, cool. Okay. Nishant, pick number three.
Oh yes. Yes. Three again. This is metalcore. Again, I'll be the one to be slaughtered again. This is a
I think
band called.
every time Achintya turns off his video, no, and he's just
It's
laughing
like
at the
he's
three
like
of us.
SOS.
Trolling.
Cryptic messages being sent. Yeah, we were all both in the reviewing circuit together. So I remember this. Now, Achintya, I would only send like the hard, Black Death stuff or anything. That's he's the guy to go to. Yeah, this is a band called Misery Signals. They have this fantastic album called Controller. And most of metalcore is trash, still is trash. But these guys were like the apex. I don't know. I think this album came out in 2008. And this was, again, me like going through Sputnik Music and finding them. And Karl Schubach, the guy who is the vocalist, had an amazing sound. It's like it's monotonous, but it's like, um, it's very cave-like. It's like he's screaming from inside a sort of cave. That sort of powerful metalcore vocal. It's not the, weeny whiny sort of vocals and then sudden clean vocals. There's no clean vocals. So this is straight up going for the jugular. Like it doesn't do, I mean, it does melody and it does post-rocky bits, but there's no, singing choruses or anything. And it's got riffs and tons of them. They've gone on to like become, I think Carl exited the band later on, and I think the older vocalist came back. It's not been the same since, but this was there. I mean, if anybody's like have a small interest in metal, Misery Signals Controller is I think one of the finest of that 2000 to 2010. Yeah, I mean, I think they also very influenced by some band called Zao, I think too. Zao is another fantastic metal band.
Yeah.
Very, yeah, Christian metal band. But yeah, I mean, that sort of thing. It's not the, Devil Wears Prada and all that bands music. They come from a different, even sometimes I would say metallic hardcore like at places. I mean, in terms of tone, not necessarily like bands like Integrity. But yeah, this is a
Like your Shai
fantastic.
Hulud and all.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, Shai Hulud would
Yeah.
be perfect. Shai Hulud would be more melodic. These guys are not melodic. They're like, so they're somewhere between metalcore and like a matty metal.
Okay.
So they're very technical in that way. And they were famous for that. Not like Dillinger Escape Plan or whatever, but very, yeah. that sort of album. It still it still holds up. Got the CD back home. Fantastic one. Yeah, fantastic one.
Yeah, I
Nice.
mean,
Have a
since you
point
said
of reference to it, but it's like your list is like cult metalcore is what I can say.
Yeah.
cult,
Cult
old
metalcore.
school
I
metal.
I've got the approval of Achintya. Yes.
No, the thing
Yeah.
is, generally, when you say metalcore, the first thing that comes to mind is second-rate Slaughter of the Soul worship mixed
Hmm.
with like the most basic hardcore you can think of, right? But I think, yeah, there's a lot more to metalcore than just that.
Yeah, I mean,
That
even
just
yeah, go ahead.
Killswitch Engage and
Hmm.
bands like that. Yeah.
I think that was just the media hype during that time. And bands
Hmm.
like Metallic Hardcore and the whole, that is actually the better one. Like
Yeah.
Integrity and even like Tragedy,
Yeah.
fantastic bands. Like, and they
Definitely
have key.
Starkweather. Do you guys have you guys heard
Yeah, yeah,
Starkweather?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not that.
They were
Uh,
quite. They also have proggy sections or something like that. Like
yeah. Yeah.
Starkweather. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember around the same time,
Mm.
2009, 10.
I mean,
Yeah.
I remember actually this other band, and this again goes deeper down the metalcore thing. Seven Angel, Seven Plague. That's how I
Yeah,
remember that Misery Signals.
Signals. Yeah.
But which actually surprised me that since you're talking about the album and then they actually put out an album in 2020, which I was like, what the fuck? They're still around.
Yeah, this letter. And I think they put an album, crowdfunded that, if I'm right. And then they put out an album like a couple of years back, maybe Ultraviolet or something. It wasn't good. So, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and Seven Plagues, what is it? Seven Plagues and
Seven Plague, Seven Angels.
Seven Angels. So I think
Seven,
that
seven,
was,
seven, eight, seven.
yeah, yeah. So I think the proto version of that band. And I think one of the band members died. And the first album had a song called The Juneteenth, which is like a classic within the metalcore scene. That's about that guy who they lost from that first album, like Seven Angels. So yeah, it's a very like it's emotional without being very emo in the modern sense of the term. But yeah, fantastic album. Like, and this is the only album I still remember this. Like you could actually make out the lyrics when he's growling. That like you it makes like squinting at the liner notes. Uh, at least gets rid of that. So this is great album. Yeah.
Cool. Peter, pick number 3.
Okay, yeah. So actually, I'm going in reverse order. So that was five, four, and three. I think this is by far the most like mainstream album of the 90s. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Oh.
And there's a story to this album for me, right? Because the first time, I think I was about 7 or 8, and my uncle went to engineering college, so he had his phase of listening to metal and rock and stuff like that. And I remember going through his cassette collection, and I picked out three cassettes which had really cool artwork. One was Red Hot Chili Peppers, one was Iron Maiden, but the album that strangely enough I liked listening to the most was Guns N' Roses. And then as I got older, I started kind of getting into them, and then I went through the discography. But there is, if and I think all of you can agree, when you listen to Appetite for Destruction, right? Like from the first song, there is that fucking raw energy that lacks in the rest of their discography, right? Like, and as you go, you can see them get more and more polished. But at this point, like these guys don't give a fuck. There's so much controversy around, the original artwork of the album itself. So, like the CD I have actually has the original inside. And yeah, man, I mean, like I always feel that I was born a little too early. That's the era. Like if I had to go back in time, like 90s, uh, being a teenager, listening to like Guns N' Roses, like fuck, man, that was some era altogether. So yeah, Appetite for Destruction. Again, start to finish, I can listen to that album. There is no concept, but hey, man, rock, metal, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's Guns N' Roses. And hey, to top it off, I'm getting to see
You're freezing, Peter. Oh, you have frozen. But yeah, Appetite for me was fucking massive in school. Yeah, what an album! I mean, right from Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, of course. But then it also had like stuff like Mr. Brownstone, and it was just a wild album. Yeah, I know that album like the back of my hand. Yeah, and huge Guns N' Roses fan in school. Like,
Yeah, and if I must add, right, a good companion reading to this album, if you want to read, is actually Slash's biography. When you read that, fuck, the way they kind of made the album and everything. This is like, you know, everyone in the 90s knew Guns N' Roses as this big band. But when you see them and read the stories of how they fucking put together this album, it's insane. I'm just like, fuck, like so fascinated by it.
yeah.
I mean, what time period was this when you got into like both of you, like GK and Pizza?
For me, it was 90, 91.
Yeah. Oh wow. So
91,
you got in quite early.
91, no, wait, 90, yeah, 91, 92 maybe. Appetite came out in 85,
7.
87.
Step.
Huh. So Appetite got an Indian release on cassette, and
Hmm.
so that was just, and along with that, yeah, along with Europe and things like that. So I was listening to most of the glam stuff in Europe and all of that, and then got into Guns N' Roses in school. So had the cassette as well, but yeah, Appetite was something else. Yeah, it was like I was obsessed with the band. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I know that's the time I think maybe I did not like completely connect with it because it was always there. Like I wouldn't like Axel singing, but
yeah.
everything, yeah, that also like a turn off. Like it's like Scott Stapp, people like it or not. Like okay, not comparing.
Fuck, this
Yeah,
is the first time I've
that yeah.
ever heard anyone compare
Wait, who's Scott Stapp?
Oh, Creed lead
Creed.
singer.
Creed.
So,
Oh
so
fuck.
there was
Okay.
this whole argument, right? Pearl
Huh.
Jam, this guy was aping Pearl Jam's
Yeah,
Ha ha.
yeah.
vocalist. So that was the whole discourse around that. I still remember, but then people got into Creed anyway and forgot Pearl Jam. Uh, but Slash's riffing, I mean, it's that I was completely remember because I also remember something strange. Use Your Illusion is probably the album artwork that I always saw everywhere, like in all music stores
Mhm.
during that period throughout in India. It still do. But yeah, I mean, I remember the riffing, but then maybe
Ha.
that's why I did not connect with them like beyond a point. Uh, but because Slash was becoming this bigger than life figure, it was always there.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's the same with me.
yeah,
Beyond a point, I couldn't connect. It didn't like last. I would say I connect more to the earlier glam bands than Guns N' Roses that way. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a cornerstone of like childhood discovery and whatnot. But it stays there. Like I'll still put on like some Rat or Motley Crue and stuff once in a while, but not Guns
Ha.
N' Roses.
yeah. I mean, I'm really got to revisit this like after Peter's. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really need to like. I think after that they don't do anything good, like, right? Like after user initiatives,
I mean, the
doesn't make
Yeah.
peak was, I think, the
this.
most bloated was User Illusion 1 and 2. Uh, I've actually, like, the reason also I'm really excited to see them next month is because the last time they came to India in 2012, it was only Axl Rose. It was like
Yeah. Yeah.
Bumblefoot on guitar,
Mm.
they had DJ Asba, who's not a DJ, yeah, which I figured out later. But yeah, and I think. The guy who played guitar with Nine Inch Nails, Richard Fortune. I can't remember. He also, I think, was there.
Oh.
So yeah, it was very interesting just to see them play. That set, but like the only reason I'm going, I mean, like a lot of my friends are like, "Fuck, have you heard?" Or seen videos of Axel. I'm like, I'm purposely not doing that because I don't want to like be
Yeah.
biased. I just want to like be upfront. Like I got a VIP ticket and stuff like that. I just want to like go
Mhm.
back to being a teenager and like screaming, singing along.
Yeah, no, I was super excited when the announcement happened. Then I made the mistake of watching some recent live videos. And then I was like, okay, no, fuck it. But then I was like, okay, chalo, we'll still go for childhood memories. And then the ticket was like some ridiculous amount. And I was like, okay, no, forget it. Not happening. I'll
Wait,
stick
where is
with
this?
Appetite. It's happening in Mumbai, na? Huh.
Yeah, Bombay.
Bombay, huh. Cool. Achintya, pick number 3. Oh, sorry, Peter, you wanted to say something else?
No, I'm like, Nishanth is actually thinking about making the trek now.
Yeah.
Was that a good argument for you? Come on.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I might be, if the price is beyond my hope, then I might be discouraged. Yeah.
It's quite exorbitant. I mean, I don't mind shelling out for a gig, but yeah.
Yeah. Achintya, yeah, pick number 3.
So this is 3 Primordial, The Gathering Wilderness.
Ah.
So I mean, what is there to say about this band? Probably the greatest metal band on some days. It's truly the metal of the soul. It's very aggressive, yet it's solar, it's dark, it's very melancholic, but it never loses that edge into whiny territory. It's like the ruminations of a noble man, or something to that effect. Um, I mean, again, all killer, no filler, but like standouts will obviously be the Coffin Ships, very, very iconic. Song of the Tomb, I think it's like a kind of like a melancholic anthem almost. And I think my favorite song on this is End of All Times. Um, the lyrics, the way the cadence of the song goes, just absolutely riveting stuff. Like, yeah, it's the metal. It's like I read this comment somewhere. It's like the metal of the soul. That just stuck with me. That's exactly how I'd describe this. So, I mean, I know you two are huge fans. So,
Yeah. Fantastic. And yeah, so since you, I don't know, can you see this? So this is Achintya's artwork for the Coffin Ships. And yeah, fucking amazing shit.
yeah,
Like, seriously. And the only reason I didn't put any Primordial on my list was because I figured Achintya would have it. So yeah, a fantastic band, man. Absolutely fantastic. There's something like it's emotional, it's angry, it's incredibly powerful, and the band gets like the ethos or spirit of metal more than most bands do, you
very
know.
high.
And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think any country that's been colonized, no, can relate to a lot of what Primordial's talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that was Alan's point as well. I saw this AMA on Reddit from a
Huh.
few years ago of his, and so people sometimes misconstrue the music as like Irish nationalism or Irish jingoism at worst. But the intention is not that. Like anyone like who reads the lyrics, listens to the
Yeah.
song, know that there's a universal like human struggle to it. The human condition. I think it's very universal in that sense, and that's why I like Primordial's approach to folk metal, or if you want to call it a subgenre.
Yeah.
They don't ever overlay folk instruments over the music, but the folk melodies are embedded in regular.
Yeah.
So
True.
that takes a huge amount of like I don't know subtlety and sophistication to pull off, which they do in droves, of course.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, I mean, I think these three, I think what comes after this, the album, there is
Nameless Dead.
Yeah.
The
To
Nameless
Nameless
Dead
Dead.
and Redemption at the Puritan Flag,
Redemption.
which I've got a T-shirt for. So that's the only thing I got from the things I got from the event. But his vocals, I don't think there is any, clean vocals better than him. I mean, I think that when he put out Dreads of Rain,
Yeah.
I mean, the music wasn't as good as Primordials, but the vocals still, that's very
Yeah.
shine beautifully. And then just this lyricism, like it's got that anguish and weight, right? It's just, I don't know, something about it touches the soul. I mean, probably, and just like Achintya said, it's not the having some banjos and whatnot and doing folk metal for the sake of it, like an LVT, for example, or whatever. This is seamlessly melded into the ethos of that man. Although maybe part of the maybe the minority here, but the last two albums I felt it was slowing down. But I mean, the one before, I think the last album that I really enjoyed with them was like which one was that? Where Greater Men Have Fallen. Oh my god, that was
Mm.
and that weight where Greater Men Have Fallen, like that album carries that weight. Like yeah, I mean, really, this lyricism is
He
quite solid.
means every word, and
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that, like someone should give him like a award just for that because he means
yeah,
it. He means it. There's no way you could have faked that. It's not showmanship beyond a point.
yeah. True. Yeah.
I mean,
I think
I
that
don't know how to. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm saying I think that authenticity also comes when you're right when your lyrics mean something to you, right? You're not just putting some random lyrics together. He's like talking about stuff that's obviously close to his heart, and when he's emoting, it's like 100% authentic. I think that's where like a lot of his vocals, like the reason why it shines so much or why it resonates so much, I think is because of that. Yeah,
I mean,
There's an
I was.
undercurrent of
Go
like
on, go
this
on.
civilizational tragedy that I saw. Like I think every culture will relate with in some way or the other.
yeah,
Everybody has like a spotless history, and
mm,
like everyone, regardless of how neutral you are, or how on the other end maybe you feel very strongly about your nationality, your ethnicity, you will still relate to that one aspect because it's the universality of the whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah, we wouldn't be metalheads otherwise. Like really,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, and I was thinking how to describe his voice. It's pretty hard. Like I remember, so there's famous when Invisible Oranges this website was good. There was a famous writer there called Cosmo Lee, where he edited, and I still remember he calling Martin Van Drunen's voice like a wounded animal, right? And that, and he sounds like that, like in the sense like it's like a brain painful sort of like he. I think Alan, on the other hand, it's like, anguish through history, right? That is emblematic of his voice and the music itself. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Uh, I think they were on Invictus, right? A bunch of these band members also on Invictus Productions or something. Maybe I'm getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Or random.
Blood Revolt, which is of course the Axis of
yeah.
Revenge,
Yeah,
Revenge,
they were a
and
label
Yellow
of them.
Project was on it. This as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, okay. Sorry, my turn. But for some reason,
The
the
host.
entire layout just changed, and I was like, yeah, okay. Let me just
Wait, which record are we on? Fourth, no? Correct.
no, my
No,
third
yeah,
pick.
your thought, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Ah,
Hell yeah.
Paradise Lost, Icon, and yeah,
Awesome.
just fucking incredible album, man. This one, favorite Paradise Lost album easily, but yeah, this album just a lot of nostalgia. Like I think again around 94, 95, I don't know, my dad got like our first hi-fi system, and it used to come with a mic. And Icon was like the third CD I ever got from Vikram Bhatt. Okay. Because
In
basically
93.
Icon in 95, 96. Yeah,
Okay.
around then. I was in,
wow.
That's
I
like
was in,
2 years after the album release. That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, just 1 or 2 years.
I
Yeah.
mean, Vic is like the OG of OGs. Okay, he
The
already
Tata.
had a CD. Yeah, yeah, he already had a CD collection in. Yeah, I met him in '94, I guess, when I was finishing school. '95 is when I got Icon. Yeah, and from him, it was Icon and Napalm Death's Peel Sessions. Two of my early CD buys. But Icon I was absolutely obsessed with. And when Dad got a hi-fi, it came with a mic. So one of the first songs I tried singing to was Ember's Fire. Okay. And it was like I was already obsessed with Nick Holmes. And I was so disappointed that I sounded horrible. Okay, after that, I was like, no, this is not for me. I'm not going to sing. And it didn't happen for a long, long time. But fuck, this album, man. So many good, amazing memories. And Macintosh's guitar playing, I mean, it's still fantastic. But
Is
I think this was the first time I'd heard guitar playing like this before. You know, it was heavy as fuck. He had these crazy melodies. and the solos that would just leap out. It was, yeah, just an incredible album for me.
I think Joys of the Emptiness is one of those doom
Huh.
metal anthems, really. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole, again, all killer, no filler, even the interludes,
Yeah.
stuff like Widow,
Mm.
is like only instrumental, but just
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. And uh, I know they tried sort of recreating it with this Icon 30. You can't
Huh.
get the sound of this album. I mean, particularly the way Nick Holmes sounds. Nick Holmes sounds like a gothic James Hetfield in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, this
Mm.
and Draconian Times.
Draconian. Yeah.
In fact, that was what got me into trouble. I compared Nick Holmes to James
Headfield.
Hetfield. Yeah. I mean, in that tragic
Oh.
He's 100% influenced by Hetfield. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
no, but
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like that, I did a neck review and then I got slaughtered for it. But yeah, I'm an absolutely killer album. This along with Draconian Times, but Draconian Times, I think they became like more melodic and more gothic over time. But
Yeah.
any
For
song, like you said, like yeah,
my Paradise Lost hot take, if you will, Draconian Times was their actual sellout album. Because for me, that was where their original sound kind of
yeah, tone
toned
down.
down, became more melodic, became more friendly.
It has more rocky songs. That's the
Yeah, it became a lot more rock oriented from metal. Then, like, if you think about it, 1 second, right? Yeah, 1 second was a huge risk because they ran the risk of alienating their entire fan base with that album. And then, of course, Host and Believe in Nothing took that even further. But Draconian Times, I think, was yeah, their real sellout point.
Yeah, their Black album, I guess. I know, but I
Yeah, their
really,
Black
no
Album.
way.
yeah, I mean, that's the only album. I think that was the first album I ever listened to by them. I was incredibly hooked. Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, I got that some special edition CD too. Like, I'm also thinking about like even Macintosh riffing, right? Fire, and also had some decent riffs on there when it was running.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
But I
and
mean, about Draconian Times, selling out never sounded so good though.
yeah, that's true.
GK the OG Soji. It was like,
Cool. Nishant, pick number 4.
uh, okay, this one is a band I think most of us watched last year, Ulcerate, Destroyers of All. I think this I remember comparing around 2010s. Ulcerate, I used to avoid Ulcerate and Gorguts because I couldn't understand them. Their riffs I couldn't follow. But Ulcerate probably is most important because when you sit with it and you understand it's like, it's a lot of patterns. And that allowed me to like then, once it clicked, allowed me to see other bands in a new light, including um Deathspell, oh my god, and all that. Like you have to follow that it's hard. Like you don't it's not like a heavy metal
Not
riff that,
casual listening for sure.
not casual listening. You can't do work and do listening to these albums at all. Right now, maybe after repeated listens, but huge. I think Ulcerate also, married my interest in death metal and post metal rather seamlessly. And this was especially so because their previous album was more death metalish, and this was more deeply inspired by Neurosis. As so much so they I think I think there was a website called Heavy Blog is Heavy. Some people would
Yeah,
have
yeah.
known it. Yeah, they invented this term called post death metal for lack of
That's
genres, I guess.
actually an
But
appropriate term.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they mix those. Uh, Still is fantastic album, I think. And I can't maybe amongst the community, this might be seen as a bit lower, but this was my introduction, I think, and then
No, Destroyers of All is still my favorite Ulcerate.
yeah,
Yeah. I like that album a lot.
brilliant. Yeah. Maybe it's because the post metal love too. I don't know. Yeah.
But
Dude, but
I feel like
watching, no, I'm saying watching them live last year was complete fucking
yeah,
insane experience, man. I think like there's one thing about I feel about metal, right? There's the live experience if it doesn't like completely elevate the album for you. So yeah, I think like I must give a shout out to Ulcerate last year, man. Fuck. What a show! Easily one of the top shows I've seen in years.
Yeah, they was seriously amazing.
Great.
Yeah. You were at the Bombay version of that, Peter?
Yeah, I was at the Bombay show.
Fantastic. I mean, I was telling you like last time, like I almost missed them. I missed them in the US because travel was too costly. Came back just to realize that in 2 months they were coming here. So yeah, it's a band. It's like a bucket list thing. Brilliant.
Cool. Peter?
Okay, so this is a nostalgia pick of mine, and again, very mainstream. I don't know if Achint would agree. This is one of those glam, or I don't know. It's weirdly enough called new wave of heavy metal. I don't know how heavy metal this is. This is Hysteria by Def Leppard. And again, I have a very vivid memory of this. Is I was in my 11th grade, so I was about 14, 15 years old, and a friend of mine, Neeskins, used to do this thing where he would like find albums like this, make a copy for himself and make a copy for me. So Hysteria was that album, and I think for weeks I kept listening to the album on repeat, right? And there's something about that album because there's a mix of, you know, the catchiness, everyone can kind of sing along to the songs, uh the production also, right? And especially like, while it's a heavy metal album, so to say, for that time, there's also that very pop, clean production of it, right? And I think this was also one of those albums that kind of is like, how do I say, those early albums that you can kind of introduce people and get them into metal. And like, come on, when you have a song like Pour Some Sugar on Me, I don't know, does it get cheesier or glamour than that? But yeah, I mean, like, totally one of those albums I love listening to for the nostalgia sake and just very high in my memory.
It's like
Yeah.
post November. That's how I would describe this as.
Uh-huh.
Def Leppard was initially an album, but this is like obviously branching out into that the more mainstream AOR kind of stuff. But yeah, fantastic album, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think I and Dry and Pyromania were like considered the new album. I think they themselves always had a problem with them considered to be metal or something. I still remember those guitarists going on a rant somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
happy to give them away if they don't want to be considered metal.
And you know, another thing I must add is in 1996, they actually played in India, and the MTV and Channel V covered them extensively.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think what between that gap, the only reason, and you can read up because there's some actual articles archived of that show, they were playing to backing tracks by then, right? So I think I can't remember whether it was either Z Music Awards or Filmfare, one of those awards actually got them down and they were playing to backing tracks. So they had really become, and like for the fact, if you think about it, like in 96, a band like this playing in India was like completely unheard of. But I think I was familiar with some of their music thanks to Channel V MTV. And then Hysteria is the album that like kind of went all downhill after that in more into heavy metal.
Yeah. But actually, I still like them. Adrenalize. Adrenalize is a really guilty pleasure for me. Like I enjoy that album a lot even now. And but yeah, Hysteria is it's a fun album. Maybe like the production, I think hasn't aged very well. Like it's too
Yeah, yeah.
shiny. But yeah, and Pour Some Sugar on Me. I mean, I know it's cheesy as fuck, but when it's on, you can't help singing along. Yeah. I don't know how you're going to resist that song. Like, yeah. So, okay, Achintya, pick number four.
Yeah, this is more like number two ranking for me at least. Nevermore, this Godless Endeavour.
Ah,
Yeah, didn't surprise anybody. I know we
Oh my
both are
God.
huge fans. I know, okay, yeah, so everyone's a fan. The absolute prime example of where technicality serves emotion and not the other way around, which a lot of modern bands completely miss the point of what Jeff Loomis was trying to do. And of course, Absolutely. I think the best performance by Warren is on this album, I don't know, or Dreaming Neon Black. I mean, you could put any Nevermore album against each other, but like this is one of those albums that really sort of got me to thinking deeply about music in general. Like, it's not just something, play in the background or have a good time to with friends. Like, wow, music can truly mean something. And it's like one of those earliest, I mean, Nevermore in general has one of the earliest commentaries on this whole sentience of AI being a possibility and what it
Yeah.
means for the human condition. So that is obviously like a very cool sci-fi slash philosophical topic to touch on. But I mean, just sick riffs, insane solos, and that the last title track. I mean, it's one of those. If there was a last song I could listen to, it'd probably be that.
Mm. Yeah. This was a fucking incredible album. This came after Enemies of Reality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, Enemies was a slight disappointment, I think. But this album, right from it opens with Born.
Yeah, Bond.
Yeah. That fucking chorus, man. I mean, the band was back. And at least for me, I mean, if you like Enemies, that's cool too.
Enemies
But
is a very bludgeoning sort of production.
yeah,
Past that, I'd say it's almost on par. But yeah, absolutely, Godless Endeavour is another class.
yeah, yeah. Fantastic album. This also has what? Sentient number 9.
Yeah, Sentient Six,
Sentient 6. Yeah, sorry.
Sentient
Yeah.
Six, Medicated
Uh-huh.
Nation,
Yeah.
uh, Zam of Lydia.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, all of
Fantastic
them
album.
could be single. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And live
fantastic.
at this time is when they were like peak. They had like Broderick with Loomis, right?
Yeah,
So,
correct.
Mm.
Mm.
one of the Voyagers around this time. Sorry, you were saying,
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Lewis performed. Were you there at that gig there? No, right?
No, unfortunately not. I was not in Bangalore at the time.
Yeah, I think I was there at that gig. And yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, he was going more like not genty, but like hard for his own solo project. Yeah, this for me also the same. They're best. I think. Uh, I think Dreaming Neon Black is the one before it. Like even there are bands. I think this is Moral Dane is like equivalent to like Alan in a way. That's not this absolutely unique.
Yeah, he's the only vocalist I would even put against. I think both of
Yeah.
them like got the right message from Bruce Dickinson's kind of stressed but
Mhm.
operatic. Uh, these two, I think, are the prime children of that vocal style. And
Yeah.
Alan himself, I've spoken to him on Instagram. He said that in part he was influenced by Warren Dane. So, I mean,
Oh.
Dane I can talk about all day. So,
Mm.
That's
absolutely.
Lewis. Oh.
Yeah. He said, I mean, it definitely was on his mind, back of his head at least.
Yeah, come to think of it, I mean, his work is, I mean, in Sanctuary, right? If that term right.
Yeah.
Sanctuary is, yeah. And that another band, I think the only band that can ever come copied the style, literally copied the style. I mean, the band called Communic.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
but
yeah.
come on, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
but it's obviously not that. They just
Yeah.
actually aped that style, even the vocal style.
Yeah, yeah. It literally was a copy of Nevermore.
Copy of.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, but having said all of that, like I went back to this album when they announced that they're getting the band together, Nevermore,
Uh,
and I was just like, "Fuck," because I remember also during that peak period I'm talking about, right? 7, 8, 9. A lot of my friends and are all guitar players, so they were all like, "Fuck, you have to hear Nevermore," and that's the thing with Waldane's voice, right? Either you like it or you don't,
yeah, true.
and Jeff Loomis is just like fucking killing it on this album. Like when I went and revisited the album, I'm like, how the fuck are they gonna replicate this shit back again, right? So it's going to be really interesting. I'm quite keen to see what they do.
Yeah. But without Dane, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I'm,
that's the thing,
yeah,
right?
I'm a bit worried.
I low key think that
But,
only someone like Alan Averill can do justice to say a Dane.
yeah.
Even that, I don't know, I have my skepticism because Dane like also has those King Diamond-ish, he does those
The highs, yeah.
very highs.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if even if a person like Alan or Stu Block from who used to be an Iceberg,
Uh-huh.
a good candidate, but I don't know if they can fully pull off that range that
Yeah,
Alan rather Borderline has. I mean, there's a
yeah,
gothic aspect, there's that
mm,
Novabo aspect from Dickinson, and then there's that King Diamond, all melded
yeah,
into his own unique sort of potpourri. But yeah,
yeah. And with both these guys, I think more than their technical ability, it's the amount of emotion they're able to generate. Yeah.
yeah,
Like with Dane and with Avril, it's like uh, it's something else. Yeah. Like at least for me,
Listen,
very
I'll
few. No, go on.
no, sorry. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. I'll be very happy if they get anyone but Tim Owens, man. I don't know what you guys think about him, but yeah, he has this thing, right? Whichever band he joins.
So Owens, I mean, like technically very gifted
Yeah.
vocalist, I would say. Like he can do a lot of things, but he leaves me also very cold because I don't sense uh, any kind of authenticity from him. Yeah,
yeah, I totally agree.
yeah. But yeah, Nevermore, though, fantastic band. And I think I don't know if they still are, Peter, but they were huge in Mumbai, right? Particularly when I was living there, 2005 to 7. Mumbai is the only city where I've seen a band cover Nevermore. The other,
Really? Fuck.
yeah, yeah,
That would have been something.
Who covered that?
yeah. The River Dragon has come in
Hmm.
UK.
Okay, relatively simplistic song, but who covered that?
But I have no idea about the band name of the band. I don't remember it at all. It was like a small gig in some pub. But yeah, that was the only time I saw an Indian band cover Nevermore. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Loomis came down and did his solo
yeah,
stuff
true.
was also like I think quite telling
Yeah,
that there are people. I mean, like I know a lot of people who traveled all across. I don't
mm,
think he played Bombay, but I know people who traveled
Played
across
only
just to
Bangalore.
Yeah,
see.
Bangalore one I was there. Yeah.
Bangalore and Delhi. I think I know he
Uh,
did, but yeah.
yeah, but I also saw like a lot of different kind of crowd, like people wearing Bellator t-shirts and all that. I think he's another influential person who's like influenced multiple genres like over the years.
mm,
And, yeah, so there's a different sort of crowd at the Jeff Loomis show.
Unfortunately, I feel like the genres he's influenced, some of them got the totally wrong message from him.
yeah,
So,
Gent is in the room. Yeah.
yeah. No, I blame Sugar for that primarily, but yeah,
mhm.
Loomis is definitely in their DNA. And
Yeah, I
but yeah,
think he was in a band called Conquering Dystopia or something like that. That was like
yeah,
more of
that's
like
his own
Gent.
solo thing,
Yeah,
but
Ha,
it's
yeah.
ha,
still
ha.
great. But somewhere I guess the Warrelane vocals also, apart from his riff work, ground it in that Hessian spirit of like classic metal
And
Yeah,
lyricism.
true.
and
Like
something modern.
that lyricism is no longer going to be there. He
Yeah.
was entirely behind.
But I'd rather him revive Nevermore than be wasted in Arch Enemy and whatnot. Because
Yeah,
that's a mistake.
100%.
He's not even
100,
allowed to
100%,
compose
man. What a
anything.
fucking waste.
Yeah,
I think that's the band where all the like Amort and everybody goes and this, you know,
I
graveyard
mean,
of
if you don't let Jeff Loomis
graveyard of talent. Like,
I mean, see, Amon's band. It's Amon's band also.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's just that legacy of his is gone. Yeah.
okay. So my pick number 4. I don't know if you can see this. Neurosis through Silver and Blood.
Oh,
Uh,
Nice.
classic.
so yeah, post metal, I guess you could call it. But this is one of those albums that took me a long while to get a hold of. Again, like uh, pre-internet days, I read a review of it in Terrorizer, which called it like the greatest thing since sliced bread, and like a whole lot of hype. And then it took years to, I think, only got it after torrents happened. So downloaded the entire discography, like super happy, and then took a whole really long time to actually get into the music because it was completely new at that time, their style, and just so dense and dark, incredibly heavy. And now, yeah, one of my all-time favorite albums. Maybe a toss-up between this and Souls at Zero, but uh, yeah, most days Through Silver and Blood would win. Yeah.
No, fantastic. But I can't say that enough. But it is probably the one of the harder albums to get into.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for the Eye of Every Storm, which is like
Huh.
far more slower, mellow. But I remember, I think the key to enjoying them is actually digging up and seeing their live shows during the 1990s. That
Hmm.
visual background and the sheer madness that their shows are. My God,
Yeah.
they're like on something quite stronger than alcohol or anything. Like they're
Hmm.
like completely. I mean, even during their later stages, like I mean, before the crisis and whatnot, uh, their life shows were still strong without the
Yeah.
visual element. I think
Like
that
it,
took this thing by storm.
like the I don't remember his name now, but the visual artist guy was a member of the band, no, like a credited
Yeah,
member of the band.
yeah,
So I think the visual aspect of it was very important for them. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think that even Souls Zero, I think it was during that decade. After they started becoming mellow, I think, let go of
Aha.
that. Person. Yeah.
I think
What?
from Times of Grace onwards, they started becoming a little more
Yeah.
mellow, spacey.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, after then, I mean, this album is like ridiculously heavy. Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
think,
mean, like also Neurosis had a huge influence on Mastodon.
Yeah.
Crack the Sky actually had Scott Kelly feature on one of the tracks, right? The title
Huh.
track. So again, very influential band all across. I mean, it's just fucked up that like they had to stop. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm surprised Mastodon didn't get cancelled for that.
I mean, I have no idea. Like, considering the shit that Macedon themselves have
Yeah.
pulled off, I'm surprised they haven't been cancelled.
somebody quit, right? Like from Astro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
Brett
the
Hines.
vocalist, Brett Hines.
Ah,
Yeah.
Brett Hines, Brett Hines. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next,
Yeah.
honestly.
True.
Okay.
yeah, but
Okay.
highly
Nishanth.
recommend the old videos of Neurosis.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it just elevates your experience, right? Yeah,
No, I think even was it Times of Grace that had the whole video accompaniment to the album?
yeah, I
Or
think
was it
so.
A Sun That Never Sets? One of them had like a video DVD as well, along with the CD, where
Ah,
every song on the album had a visual accompaniment.
right.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, that reminds me. So that idea was not copied, but literally used by another band, a post-metal band. I forget the name. Oh, yeah, Rosetta. Have you heard? I think it's Rosetta.
Rosetta, huh?
Ah, so like, let me just check it out. Yeah, it's them. Yeah, so they had this album. I think they are deeply inspired by them. The Rosetta had an album called the Galilean Satellites, where they're like,
Okay.
they had 6 songs on one side, and then just music from space of 6 planets. And
Oh,
you actually need to listen to them together. I mean, there
huh.
are versions of which, like, where you can,
Huh.
something like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
they
So,
take it from Neurosis.
Neurosis did that with Times of Grace and
Damn,
Tribes of Neurot when they
right.
released Grace. So you're supposed to essentially play both those albums together
Yep.
to get the complete effect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a fascinating
I mean, I've
thing.
never done that, but I
Yeah,
don't know how much of a gimmick it is, but it feels like a cool concept. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is it me now? No.
Yes, sir. Pick number
Yeah,
5,
yeah, the last.
the last
Okay.
one.
Yeah, this is maybe outside metal a bit more. I'm not sure. Do you guys know a band called Jacob? Jakob.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a post-metal rock band. Comes from New Zealand again. But they don't have vocals, and I think they're one of the finest bands. So I remember, like, so we had a field trip back in 2014, 13. We were going through the Silent Valley in Kerala. It's one of the most beautiful
Hmm.
places. So I still remember there was this song by Jacob called "Blinding Them with Science" or "Blind Them with Science." SEIANC. Yeah, I So always connect to them with landscapes for some reason. Like I used to do a lot of travel in the Kerala KSRTC, which is called local bus transport. This band would be there online all the time because for once you don't have to listen to the vocals. It is pure and like it's only one of the OG post rock, not OG, but like somewhere blending post rock and metal in terms of riffs. So they had this album called Solace. Jakob is their band name. Fantastic band. Yeah, I mean they I don't think the CDs are available yet. I have them all bought on Bandcamp. That's about it. I don't think they do even many shows anymore. So they're like very secretive for some reason. Uh, yeah, this was around the time like post metal was getting coming big. This I think Solace was released in 2006, 7. ISIS had already put out Epinopticon, and all those bands. So yeah, I don't know. This might be. I thought you guys might know, but I don't think a lot of people know this band. But they're at least popular within the post rock, post metal space. Closest band, right?
Cool.
Uh,
I think the only instrumental post metal bands I've heard are Pelican and maybe Red Sparrows.
Red Sparrows too. Yeah, yeah.
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 And those are made by members from ISIS, no? One of those. I think Red Sparrows is.
Red Sparrows, I think, is ISIS and a couple of other bands. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a band called Scale the Summit, which is like slightly
Huh.
more poppier, proggy type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's one of those times. But these guys did it in 2005, 6. And it's just beautiful. Fantastic album. Yeah.
So guess what, Nishanth? I'm actually looking at their Facebook. Don't ask me why. They're actually in October put out an update that they're recording. So
Oh,
who knows?
nice.
After ages, we'll hear some
Yeah,
new
yeah.
music from them.
Absolutely. I think they last put out in 2014 only. Yeah. Something like
Yeah,
that.
it's been a while.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
since
Peter.
it's my turn, that's the reason I'm wearing this T-shirt. I don't think you can fully see. I think everyone knows this album artwork. So it's Powerslave, and so it again. I think nostalgia, but this was, I think, not the first Iron Maiden album I heard, but or songs, but I heard the entire album in entirety, and I think two memories really for me. Right, this was I think 2003, yeah, 2 3 where no, sorry, 2001 and 2, the same time I was listening to Hysteria. I was also listening to Powerslave, and like you had on one end this poppy kind of thing, and then you had on the other end Powerslave, and I was just like, what the fuck? Because my earlier reference for Iron Maiden was Number of the Beast, Fear of the Dark, Be Quick or Be Dead, which was like far darker stuff. And then you have this album, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And I still remember like the first time going all the way till the end of the album, and then you have like this 13-minute song, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. And I was like, wait, there are songs so long? Like, what the hell? Uh, but yeah, even like start to finish, man, this album is like all killer. And the second memory for me is actually when in 2009 they did Somewhere Back in Time, the tour. I think it hit UAE in Dubai where I caught it, but they also played, I think, Bombay the second time or third. Yeah, that was the second time because they played
Second time.
Bangalore also. And they played these songs live. And while, seeing them in 2007 was easily like the highlight of my metal life, period, right? Like, I never, for the life of me, when I was listening to Iron Maiden as a 7, 8 year old, thought I would ever see this band live. So that was like something for me which I'll never forget. But then watching this album, which I've heard like again for months on end, start to finish, seeing those songs live, fuck man, it was some experience. I mean, like, it's been almost what 16 years later, and I'm still like giddy thinking about watching them live. Like, what a fucking band, man. And like Powerslave, I don't think like I'll ever get tired of this album. So easily one of my top albums.
I saw them in Serbia in 2022, and surprisingly, they ended the set with 2 minutes to midnight and Aces High. And Aces High is like a very high energy song, right? Like he's
Yeah.
running around everywhere. There's like that the whole World War II airplane, which is that prop that's coming down from like the roof. And I was surprised they chose that song as the ending rather than the opener because he has to like do a lot of physical acrobatics, so to speak. And I mean, at that point, I was just like, respect Bruce Dickinson. Like, holy crap, how are you able to do this at your age?
Mm.
Post cancer and everything, apart from his individual physical fitness. I mean, yeah, I mean, total respect. And Flash of the Blade was actually one of those songs that I first heard beyond those A Matter of Life and Death songs that would come on TV on VH1. I forgot what it was called. Uh, that rocker or whatever. They used to play
Uh,
this reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg. That's how I discovered Maiden to begin with. So apart from A Matter of Life and Death, which was my first CD ever, this was probably the second Maiden album I heard in its entirety. And yeah, I mean, needless to say, epic, progressive, bombastic, heroic stuff.
yeah, I think like seriously progressive, more than like a lot of people say Seventh Son is like their prog thingy, but Powerslave, man, I mean, the title song, yeah, Flash of the Blade, the Duelists, of course, the two big singles, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. The only thing I don't get is what is that? Back to the Village. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that's just Maiden being whimsical as hell because
aha,
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I
why? But I'm
guess,
like, okay.
but yeah, apart from that one song though, yeah, this is a fantastic album for me.
But
Yeah,
I think Maiden does that on every album. Like, there's one slightly whimsical song which
yeah,
directly like is out of flow. I think, like for
yeah.
example, Somewhere in Time. Surprisingly, it's a hot take, but like Alexander the Great, good song. But I'm
Uh-huh.
like, why? They could have ended with the second one.
Fuck, I love that song, but
No,
yeah,
I
I
love
get
the
what you're
song,
saying.
but yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's like them being self-indulgent. I mean, they're allowed it, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah, true. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
my entry to Iron Maiden was like uh, Brave New World, actually. I mean, I think I had that on CD at some point. Yeah, I mean, but I had a friend of mine, like, so when I was growing up in seventh standard, seventh or eighth standard, I had the Creed's cassette called Weathered, and he had I think Powerslave, not Powerslave, like yeah, I think he had Powerslave, and then he would take me, what rubbish you are listening to, bro. Just take this, and he would play Aces High, and then he would make fun of me all the time, and he only liked Bullets from Creed, which is a particular song which is slightly heavier, other than all the crap. But I remember that particular conversation having, like, listen to those riffs of Aces High or 2 Minutes to Midnight. That's how you should play music rather than create it. And he was not into that hate discourse. I mean, he just knew it as something as trash. So I remember, but Brave New World and also the connection, like Achintya said, to literature, right? Like I remember reading Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and this whatever. Like it's the deep connection that the band already has. Something outside the Judas Priest for more fun. Like this guy always tied back to historical figures and all that. So yeah, yeah, but I mean, I wish, was there Achintya? Was that like a huge proper prop, like the old style when you watched them? Was it there in India too? Like when you,
I never caught them in India. Unfortunately, I was a kid at the time and
uh,
couldn't just simply couldn't go. So obviously, like 2022 is like redemption for that. But the way they did it was through whichever era of songs they're playing, they would change the prop. So Senjutsu would be all that samurai
yeah,
stuff.
Japanese,
Would be the whole World War II thing. Flight of Icarus would be this whole eagle
right.
theme. Aerials. That yeah, it would completely
So
change the
wait,
song.
this was a
You know,
standalone show or a festival?
it was a standalone show.
Ah, so then fair, yeah. Then they do the whole shebang.
yeah. I think the first time they came to India was the Matter of Life and Death tour.
Correct.
So that was what the theme was. The second time was the Somewhere Back in Time tour. So
Yeah.
that had your giant Somewhere in Time Eddie who walks on stage. I think it had like an Egyptian theme also, no? At
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
point, a
Powerslave would
past
have the
slave.
Egyptian theme also.
Yeah. So they ran through a few different sets for that one. But yeah, both those
Yeah.
gigs were unbelievable. Yeah.
I
The funny
mean,
thing
they
was
haven't
Powerslave
announced their
entry into his entry
Huh.
into this Eddie's crotch. That's a
Yeah.
What is it? That cover,
But they haven't announced their world tour dates as yet, so I'm like got my fingers crossed for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, if they can bring, I mean, if whoever these promoters are can bring Guns N' Roses down, then I don't see why they can't bring Maiden down. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would argue that's more commercial viability as well at this
yeah,
point.
Maiden, no? Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Achintya.
Okay, so number one pick, Celtic Frost to
Ah,
Megatherion. Um, this is the sole reason I'm an extreme metal aficionado fan, whatever you want to call it. Like, so taking the primitive sound, doomier aspects of Hellhammer, but injecting into it this titanic spirit, heavy as hell riffs, but also the first band to I think experiment and branch out into non-metal aspects, but injecting it into the songs, like French horns, like female vocals, and of course these have direct impact on black metal, death metal, and of course gothic, doom. Every single genre you can think of is influenced by Celtic Frost in some way. Everything from like festival friendly like sort of folk metal to like the most necro sounding black metal. Celtic Frost is Celtic Frost for a reason, and Martin Hurricane and Tom G. Warrior are eternal legends of the genre. So the way I discovered this was again as a kid, just getting like Maiden. Of course, I was into a lot of new metal, Trivium, Maiden, etc. But uh, YouTube was in its very incipient stage at the time, and I came across Celtic Frost, Circle of the Tyrants live, and I was just like, whoa, it was over, it is done. Like this isn't a phase, ma. It is just absolute brilliance and everything from like the interesting thing about this album is it does it. You would think an album of this time would be very thrashy sounding. It's not. It sounds very
mm,
ambiguous. Straddles that line between proto black, death metal, and thrash,
yeah.
despite firmly rooted in that time of like thrash metal.
Mm,
So way ahead of their peers, and it's like it's ridiculous to believe that I think they were like what 20 and 17 at that time. Martin
yeah.
Hurricane was not even like legal, so the sort of rapid progress from Hellhammer to Celtic Frost is also something to be like studied from a
Yeah,
like
true.
primitive punkish metal to like very sophisticated expansive atmospheres. I mean those guys are ahead at that time, still are, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even I think Monotheist is one of the greatest comebacks of all time. Like a ridiculously good album. But Frost was another one of those bands that I think uh, we'd always heard about them, and the only song we'd heard was Circle of the Tyrants because of the obituary cover.
Right.
But we only heard the band, I think, once the internet happened. And that was where, again, you just started down and the high speed internet, basically, what, 2003 ish, 2001 ish, maybe. Yeah. And that was when I actually started listening to Morbid Tales. Uh, yeah, this one and Into the Pandemonium, and holy shit, man. I
The
mean, even in the 2000s, they sounded ahead of their times. Like, it was ridiculous. This band, no, especially this album, you could listen to it and then you could clearly chart out like all the different scenes that it inspired. Into
absolutely.
the Pandemonium, you listen to it, and there was 20 years later, 30 years later, there was still nothing else like it. Like, just an incredible band. Yeah.
Like you see that DNA, like you mentioned, like
Uh-huh.
obituary, an obvious one. Dark Throne
Yeah.
is also another very
Yeah.
obvious,
Mm.
and you see the same DNA in like Gothic,
Yeah.
adding the French horns and the female
Mm.
vocal. So I mean, like it's influence over the like the diverse influences. It's sort of influences like just incredible. I mean, can't put it into words.
Yeah. True.
The number of descendants it has, so to speak, just ridiculous.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm. I hard agree. Like I think monotheist was like what hit me because it's a form of doom here, and then that whole triptychon, right? style when they moved on to a. I think that was also a huge craze during that time. If you remember rightly, I have those both those CDs and like for me, Monotheist was that particular song. I don't remember which they have a video on. This guy standing in the middle. Get his name and song. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
A dying god born to you.
The
Huh.
dying. That one. Yeah, I still remember that. Somebody passed me the music video of that and burnt onto a CD during that time. But yeah, I mean, Morbid Tales was I think more thrashier version of it. That's at least that was the one that clicked with me initially immediately, but Megatherion took its own time. And on the other hand, like we always had the Cold Lake joke always on the internet during that time. Remember the forums?
Whole lake
Yeah.
is
No, those like the discourse
Whole
was
lake
that.
has good riffs.
Yeah, into the
Has
pandemonium.
archetypal Celtic frost riffs hidden beneath a glam menu.
Yeah.
But got us huge negative rapport because
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
okay.
the like till Morbid Angel put out
No, but Cold Lake, no, I think a lot
it's
of the
not
bad rep that it has is because of the video.
Yeah, Cherry
ah
Orchards, really
Cherry
good.
Orchards, yeah.
okay.
Okay. Like that video is like incredibly cheesy. But you keep that visual aspect aside and just
Aside.
listen to the album, it's all right, yeah.
Mhm.
It's not as bad
As people make it out to be.
as people make it out to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Into
mean,
Megatherion.
yeah. But it's just those. I still don't think anyone's been able to capture that specific sound of the sonority of those French horns that he put in this album. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like Dawn of Megiddo and
Mhm.
Necromantic Screams. They just sound like this giant is approaching a city, like it's some mythic
Yeah.
dream, and well, you're done for.
And with the art, right? I think he was so
Yeah, of
close with
course.
Geiger. I
Hey,
mean,
Lachak either. Yeah.
even for example, during my PhD, my guide who knew that I was into metal, she was telling me there's this fantastic bar in Switzerland that you should go to. It's very heavy metal. I mean, it was Geiger's that I think bar. He had
The
the
alien.
Mhm.
this is
Yeah.
themed. I think a
Oh,
themed bar
Aeternum.
yeah on his artwork, and he was very close. I think there's a documentary, right? Like on Celtic Frost.
I thought that it existed only in Switzerland. So,
Yeah, it's in Switzerland. Yeah,
oh, it is in Switzerland.
it's there. So she was suggesting you should go there. Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
metal as hell. Sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I mean, the album cover itself sets the tone, and it's very
Yeah.
foreboding. It's like it was made for the album, even though it like
Mm.
precedes the album by like a good 15 years.
Yeah. Okay, my last pick, the first Deicide album,
Oh, another one.
and sorry,
I'm surprised that Deicide is your number one.
yeah, I
Regions you
I mean,
thought.
when I picked these, I didn't really think of it like a top five, but yeah, I mean, if I could only listen to five albums, this would, at least at the moment, this would be the death metal pick from it. Yeah, just because of that evil fucking atmosphere. I know Legion, they got more technical and all of that, but fuck, this album, man, I mean, what is it? Dead by Dawn, Lunatic of God's Creation, Sacrificial Suicide, just Carnage in the Temple of the Damned. I mean, fuck. This is
Stone
like
Cold.
Death Metal 101. Yeah,
And I mean,
absolutely.
it sounds rabid, like
It does. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's the perfect word to describe this album. Yeah. Just fucking mad stuff. Yeah.
and these songs I just recently saw them live like last year.
Huh.
He's really accented it with the triple vocals. Like
Hmm.
someone's doing those lows and those highs and one
Yeah.
really guttural one. It just sounds, yeah, just like the OG demonic sounding
Yeah.
music.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wait, that came on later on, or is it like with the stench of redemption or something? No? Or that
Which
I
one?
mean that vocal like a high pitch, and then there's a
Oh, it's all over that album. Glenn
uh,
does that
Yeah.
high and the low at the same time. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah. Oh,
No, I must say, like, if you want to get an insight into what Deicide was like back in the day, Al Dawson from Earache Records talks about like going to Florida and meeting these guys. And like, they were like the glam stars or the rock stars of like Florida. Like fuck, you have to hear that story. Like he talks about, I think either it's signing them onto Earache or meeting them for the first time. Like there's like a fucking great. I'll send it in the chat to you guys. Either it's an Instagram video or a YouTube video. But I was just like, fuck. These guys were like hardcore. Like they weren't fucking around. Like Glenn Benton is like no messing
Yeah, yeah.
around.
I mean, Benton was like, the upside down cross on his forehead, the whole I'm going to kill myself when I turn, what was it, 32 or
33,
20,
33.
Oh
33?
fuck.
Years of
Yeah, that,
Jesus being
uh,
crucified at 33 thing. He didn't
huh,
go through with it though.
huh?
I'm saying he didn't go through with it though.
Yeah, yeah, he didn't go through with it. But fuck, man, that was some psych shit. Like it felt like Deicide felt dangerous. Yeah,
And like
and
even beyond all the whole occult posturing, apparently they were like generally a very violent band. So
huh,
it's like at the baseline they're very dangerous.
yeah,
But like the rest of the Florida scene were just like, 3/4 wearing, chilled out, coastal fellas. But
yeah,
not these guys. Maybe only Trey, as I thought, kind of like is as weird, but
huh,
as violent from that scene. Everyone else was a bit more like, I don't know, professional or something. Or like
yeah,
I
easygoing.
think like Peter, Peter said, like there's something about him on the death metal history, I mean, books on death metal history, like where he would scare people by when they open the when he opens and knocks his door or something, he would open and then do some flying something. There's a lot of these jokes written on
No, no.
uh, on the
Yeah,
forums.
to your
Yeah,
point, a
yeah,
lot of it is goofy as well. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It
But
is, yeah.
I personally prefer Legion. I think that's because Death Metal Underground are upset, which I no longer visit, but they used to praise Legion for being the greatest album or something.
Who? Which site?
Oh, the Death Metal Underground.
Death Metal Underground, huh?
DMU. Yeah.
DMU, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a fan.
Problematic space. But their recommendations are really good, I would say. And I
No,
think
no. What's his name? Yeah, Brett Stevens, right?
Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I mean,
I
like
used to, now
whatever
that
you.
come, yeah,
The dude has immaculate taste in death metal.
that is true.
Okay, like uh, I think one of the first metal sites I was reading was A.N.U.S back in the day.
A.N.U.S.
Yeah, where it was Prozac, right? Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
would, you'd have to read those reviews multiple times to get what he was saying. But my God, man, how many bands I got turned on to because of that site.
Likewise.
So Brett Stevens, yeah, yeah, I
Even
will
that
always have
recommendation,
respect for that guy.
yeah,
And
yeah, the
moreover, the thing
recommendation
is,
we
they
get.
call it pretentious. A lot of people call his writing style and
Aha,
the injecting of like very hyper technical terms is pretentious. But I completely disagree. I think that style of discourse is like completely missing in metal for a long time
it
now.
is, yeah.
And there is a deeper layer of like philosophization or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Ruminating on the genre, and it's completely gone. I
Yeah,
feel like that was super cool. It
Yeah,
definitely influenced me. So how I
yeah.
think
uh,
genre in general.
I think he wrote a book on nihilism or something like that. But there is another website which I've recently found is pretty cool. I was sharing with JK called Hate Meditations. Not pretty cool.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah,
also so they were fans of DMU, and then it's a political on the other side. So
Okay.
they're also pretty cool. I mean, he also like makes fun of. I don't know whether you guys remember there was a guy called Telemarcus uh, on Blogspot. Uh, anyway, he's also one of the guys who used to write stuff, and his recommendations are pretty great. Yeah, like a band like Blood, I would not have listened to if it not for the Blood, the death metal grindcore band.
impulse to destroy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so
Pale blood.
yeah, so he guys. Yeah.
No, but to Achintya's point, no, I feel like the entire philosophical, the deeper side of metal, those conversations, yeah, they don't happen as much, or maybe I don't see them. I don't know. Like a lot of it just feels like very surface level. Hmm.
Yeah, like this recent Titan Blood album that released.
Hmm.
Huh.
Uh, I'm a huge fan of the band. I mean, like obviously as you can see here,
Yeah.
but
Wait, which band?
I had strong
Okay, wait.
opinions. Man.
Titan Blood.
Titan Blood. Yeah, I remember.
So I had strong opinions on it. I think it's like a below mediocre album for a band of their caliber. And I
Mhm.
sort of expressed that and why in the comment section.
Ah,
Like people don't engage with the actual content. Everyone just
Yeah.
chooses to say that, hey, this is a pretentious opinion. Why are you
Mm.
listening to black and death metal if you're going to over
yeah.
intellectualize? But I do think it warrants that level of intellectualization. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
True.
just to kind of add, right? To me, it's just a larger problem of social media, right? Where you don't have that kind of thing where you want to engage. Like when I was thinking back on all the albums that I listed, it's stuff I've spent like hours and hours listening to, right? Nothing actually from the last 5 to 7 years has stuck, so to say. And I think that's one of those things that all of us collectively, if you think about, have a problem. And again, just think about like when we were talking, I think a connection we made with all the albums is stuff that was not that easy to find, and things like that. So there was that, what do you say, reward at the end of like all that you kind of spend time looking through or going through, right? So I think that's another thing. Now, right now, at any given point, if you want to listen to like music, you just go through Spotify or whatever streaming platform, right? So it's so much easier.
Yeah. True.
Absolutely true. But I don't revisit albums, which I like in a particular way, right? And like I had this conversation with GK like last time when we met or something. Like none of the new albums click. I mean, and then understand like the hatred for new stuff is also slightly warranted, like in the sense like there's nothing new happening that's clicking, and I'm still in the circuits for the last 10, 15 years of maintaining a list of new albums that are going to come out next month, and all of them I listen to one or two songs. Oh my god, it's bad. So I just push it. And you're right. Like I think maybe the reason why it's these five albums, even in my case, were around along the 2010 to 2007 to maybe 15 or 16, the largest space. Also the time where like come of age for listening to metal and all. I don't know. Yeah, and that's stuck. Uh, it's like a stagnant thing.
no,
Yeah,
I
anyway.
don't know about that. I do feel that there are quite a few memorable albums even since say 2015.
Yeah, of course. I'm just
Yeah,
saying about
but
that. Yeah.
thing is, again, it has to comes down to like discussion, right? Like
Mm.
if you don't engage in a discourse based culture, it won't
Mm.
stick in your head because a lot of these albums are also based on discussion with your friends. What
Yeah.
aspect do you
Yep.
like? Dissecting it, sort of getting nerdy about it basically. If you make everything low bro, they're like, oh no, you go even the second layer, you're pretentious and ha ha ha. I think we listen to this genre because it's not low bro, because it's not
Yeah.
fake.
Absolutely. And I think I know that level of engagement is not there. Like Spotify, click on it. I don't know. Something's really changed. I mean, I still remember the days with technical that metal.org. We had to like go there, download the stuff, make, and there was something called getmetal.org till
Yeah, yeah.
sometime back too. Now it's
Even
there.
had
I but
metal tracker.
yeah, Metal Tracker, and I had
Yeah.
to torrent it.
Yeah, yeah, whole discography is being torrented. Yeah, very convenient. Like, I took
Convenient. Yeah.
effort. You don't go to YouTube Premium, Spotify.
Yeah.
Mm.
Of course, the boomers are looking down upon the torrenting then.
Yeah.
Like, we are
Yeah.
getting Spotify's of the world now.
So I used to look down on streaming. Like torrenting for me was amazing. Okay, the amount of discographies I downloaded early 2000s, torrenting, rapid share,
Media
Mediafire,
fire.
all of that shit was amazing. For some reason, I had a really warped view of streaming. Like, what is this nonsense? Everything's so easy to get, blah, blah, blah. And then my wife put me onto Apple Music, and it was like, oh, wow, this is really convenient. But yeah, now I'm like a huge, I can't do without my streaming services. But yeah,
Yeah, likewise, YouTube is like my primary social media overall.
uh,
Yeah, but the worst was when promos were given to us for only streams. Oh my God, man. It was like pre Spotify days. And I used to get really irritated with that.
The RAR
Remember?
file, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Raphael. I mean, remember, I think there was a time like Achintya and JP we got physical
of course.
records.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
that
that was wild. Like
Yeah, that really
still
was.
hasn't
Yeah.
happened. It was very rare, I think, even at the time. I don't know how you managed to get your hand on that, but
So
it
I
still
like,
happens.
yeah, like we got doom bands like Jackstop, like that were like kick ass around 2012, 13. So I had mailed this guy called in I Hate Records. That's like
Hmm.
Yeah.
cultish. So I like, we don't believe in digital crap. We only sell physical copies. And they never asked for it. Like there's a promo CDs sent all the way from Sweden.
Yeah.
And I had to
Holy
send it to
shit.
Bangalore. I sent it to Bangalore to Achintya and JP. I think
You sent me Hypnosia and Deathstorm, I believe.
they're classics, right? Like if
Yeah,
you compare it. It's not
yeah,
like
Wow.
aggressive
yeah.
stars, yeah.
2013 or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's nuts. I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah. I still
I
have
think,
a
I
lot
mean,
of those promo CDs.
I still get sometimes bands and record labels who say, like, if you want like physical copies, but I'm just like, fuck, man, like, just the effort to send and then also dealing with customs in India now,
Yeah.
not only getting
No
started
issue.
in that.
Back in the day, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything is under scrutiny for some reason.
Yeah. True.
Two times, I guess. Ooh, we
Okay.
went to 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah. This has been going on for a long while, but yeah, I think we can wrap it up. So, thank you all for joining. I think it's been a fantastic conversation. At least I found it very entertaining, enlightening, enjoyable, whatever you want to call it. But and didn't realize it went to over 2 hours till I actually saw the time just now.
I just realized also. Thanks.
Yeah, 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, but yeah, thanks so much for coming in, and hopefully we'll do a few more of these at some point.
Definitely.
So, cheers.
Yep. Thank
Stay
Hands up,
you.
safe,
guys.
stay better. Have a good weekend.
You
See
too.
you
Cheers,
guys.
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay. Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Peter. Always a pleasure. All right, that was our discussion on 5 albums for a lifetime, or 5 albums for a desert island, if you prefer. And thanks for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, like, share, subscribe, blah blah blah. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay metal. Have a good one.